This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good morning, Tuscaloosa. Good morning, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How we doing today on a Monday? It's the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. You're watching us on the Bama Central YouTube channel, the Bama Central Facebook page. You're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. You can leave us a review, subscription, or you can go ahead and leave us a like right there on the podcast platforms on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. We'd really, really appreciate that. We are broadcasting live from the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios right here off of McFarland Boulevard. You can call Derek for all of your insurance needs at 205-758-3391. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel is there. We appreciate him putting us up and hosting the program. You can also check out our sponsor, Purple Turtle Roofing, by checking them out online at roofturtle.com for all of your roofing needs, commercial or home, home or commercial. You can residential or commercial, excuse me. You can check them out right there. They'll take care of you, metal or shingle roofs. They'll make sure that you have the peace of mind that you deserve. So check them out online at roofturtle.com. We're going to have a lot of fun today with our friend Theo Fernandez. We're going to talk about Alabama baseball, Alabama softball. We're going to also talk about Alabama football. That's going to be on the docket today. The baseball team winning their final weekend series against Ole Miss and securing a top 4 seed for this week's SEC tournament. So we'll talk about that, how the draw ended up for Alabama, what the expectations might be in Hoover, and how they got it done against Ole Miss. We'll mention the softball team. We'll highlight the softball team, but I wasn't really covering softball with the baseball side. Softball took care of business in a big, big way. Took a lot of the drama out of it. You were looking at Maya Johnson being a big-time pitcher, and Alabama handled its business this weekend, didn't give up a single run as they advanced to Super Regionals this coming weekend as they'll host the LSU Tigers. We'll try to get Katie Windham on this week to preview the LSU and Alabama series. Alabama did not play LSU in the regular season this year, so that'll be interesting to see this weekend over at the Rhodes House. And we will finish by talking about roster valuations for Alabama football, because you got these charts from, Front Office Sports, College Front Office Sports has put out charts for a lot of the major college football programs. They've got one out for Alabama. I know my man Hunter Brantley is talking about it on his voicemail. So we will use that to talk about some of these numbers for Alabama football in 2026. Are these guys getting paid what this College Front Office Sports is reporting? Is going to be the question. So we're going to do all that today. We're going to have a lot of fun with our man Theo Fernandez. Follow him at Theo Fernandez _ on the Twitter machine, covering all things Alabama athletics, and right now working for Fox Sports, getting ready for the World Cup and covering Major League Baseball and the UFL as well. Football expert Theo Fernandez. Good morning, Theo. How we doing?
Doing great. Long weekend, but we got through it. Just a lot going on, right? Just continuing to grind away, build up to the World Cup. I will be able to update you every day on how many days we are from the World Cup, because we do a big countdown and everything, but it's getting close and I'm getting excited for it. So
what are we, like 8 weeks away, 7 weeks away? Because it's a month and change. It's July, right?
No, we are 23 days away from the tournament. Ooh. We are June 11th. We are playing soccer right here in the United States. So all right, close.
Well, we got to build up the buzz here. 23 days away from the World Cup. I saw today somebody put out on Twitter, finally, tickets under $100 for, I guess, a game with Jordan out in San Francisco. I'm looking to see if any of these tickets go down in price as we approach the event, Theo. So I know you're working the event. Anything you can do to drop the tickets out, drop the tickets in price, maybe that'll get me inside one of the stadiums. I really am looking forward to the World Cup. I'm looking forward to following it through Theo Fernandez's eyes. Make sure you follow him at Theo Fernandez _. But Theo, why don't we start with the voicemail line? Because I got 2 voicemails, and we want to honor those guys and appreciate their time, taking their time out of their busy schedules to call us and leave us their thoughts. I got Dax and Hunter Brantley. I think we're going to talk baseball, and I think we're going to talk softball, talk football. So let's get right into it with Dax on the voicemail line at 205-462-7340 extension 800.
What's up, guys? It's Dax I haven't called in like a month or something. Been a little busy. Got a new job. Doing HVAC. So we're about to blow up here in the next couple of weeks because it's gonna get in the 90s. Woo! Can't wait. Joe, so I'm listening to Friday's show on Friday, and you said that you felt your baseball career coming to an end in middle school when guys start throwing curveballs. Who were you batting against that was throwing curveballs with a lot of movement in middle school? Mike Trout or somebody? Come on, that's crazy. I believe you. I mean, I played against some nasty little middle school pitchers, but it's insane that we've got middle schoolers throwing curveballs with a lot of movement. But yeah, I feel you. Just a testament to how insane MLB is. I hit against one guy that threw 90 in high school, and that was about the most scared I've ever been in my life. I did getting a hit off of him after I watched the first two fastballs go right by me without me even realizing they were there. So by the time I got to his third pitch, I realized that all he was throwing was heat and nothing else. So as soon as he let go of the ball, I just closed my eyes and swung and made contact. And
Good strategy.
First. Got a single out of it. Which brings me to my next note. I'm starting a rec league men's only slow pitch team for next year. So if anybody wants to join, let me know. Men's only because we don't play to have fun. We play to win. All right. Now on to Alabama sports. Softball with the 8-0 dub over Little Sisters of the Poor. And then we have the first or second best pitcher in the nation, probably next, unless Belmont somehow gets beaten, but I don't see that happening. It's crazy that we have I'm going to say sort of a hard region. For the number one overall seed, we have a harder region than it should be. But it's fine because we're the number one overall seed, and it shouldn't matter. We should beat everybody. Baseball. We're running back into shape. We're coming back. It's not quite mid-season form, which was outstanding. And then it took a complete 180 and went to the poop hole. But we're coming back. We're coming back a little bit. I am recording this on Saturday, so the weekend is still not fit. No, I'm recording this on Friday. Yeah, today's Friday. Wow, it's been a long week. So we need to see how the weekend is going to go. Probably give you all an update after that. But, yeah, I just figured I'd call and check in with you guys. It's been a second. So love you, boys. Roll Tide.
Hey, Roll Tide to Dax. Right back at you on the voicemail line. We'll get to Hunter's in just a second because Hunter talked about baseball and football as well. But so we want to get to those topics for sure. Dax, I don't want to be selling myself too highly. I don't know that the curveballs that I was seeing in middle school had that much movement. I think that was how inept I was in the batter's box. Theo, I bet you were a bomber as a youth baseball player. I bet you were hitting dingers over the fence and busting up windshields and busting up all kinds of cars in the parking lot at the plate, but I was not.
Yeah, you see, I chose lacrosse as my spring sport, which probably was the better move because probably would have saved myself a couple golden sombreros and some rough moments there. But Dax, I'm very interested. I think now that I reflect on things, it's like, man, if I got out on that diamond, there's no telling what I would have been able to do. So I'm in. Slow pitch softball, I want a spot on that team. And we're going to see. I think I got some Giancarlo Stanton in me. I think I'm going to strike out a lot, but I think I got some power. So that'd be a fun time. You also completely destroyed Belmont softball. Little Sisters of the Poor did go on to beat Belmont.
I think he was talking about you. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, USC Upstate went on to eliminate Belmont and set up that championship match with Alabama. So now at least we have an explanation for why that happened. Not the best weekend for Maya Johnson out there.
No, it wasn't. I'm sorry to cut you off. I didn't follow you. You were going right down the correct path. Yeah, softball's where we should start. We'll get to baseball and football with Hunter Brantley's voicemail because he's calling after Alabama's weekend series. Softball, you basically wrecked USC Upstate in the first game on Friday. Katie Wyndham was done in like an hour and a half. 8-0, five inning game where they just wrecked shop. Saturday was really the dramatic day, and Alabama's offense. You took the drama out of it. You went 3 runs in the first inning. And I don't know if you picked up on this, Theo, but the Belmont pitching coach, the Belmont coach, insinuated after that they thought that Alabama might have stolen some signs. They weren't. The coach didn't seem upset about it. He said that's not really. He said it's not baseball. We're not going to plunk the next batter, but if you can get it, you can get it. And he insinuated that he thought the Alabama coaches, the Alabama staff, scouted Maya Johnson well enough and kind of pre-scouted her signs so they knew what some of these pitches were coming.
Yeah, so do they not plunk batters like at all?
No, that's not what we do in women's sports.
No, we don't do that. Even if they deserve it. No.
Do you deserve it if you picked up on the signals? I mean, you do deserve it if you're doing the Houston Astros camera in the outfield. Like you deserve it. You're banging a trash can. That's a line too far. But if Patrick Murphy and company were basically scouting the pitching and picked up on hand signals, picked up on 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it was, whatever the catcher uses, and whatever, I'm sure that they've got a pitch coach calling the pitches in the Belmont dugout. So whatever the signals they're sending in were easily deciphered, and the Alabama coaching staff basically gave the offense a little bit of an edge.
Well, it appears that USC Upstate also stole those signs. They put up 2 runs in, I think it was 2/3 of an inning. So just a rough weekend all around for Johnson.
Do you think I have no inkling on this, but this just popped in my head. Do you think the Alabama coaching staff or do you think the Alabama players might have given some of the intel to USC Upstate to not see Maya Johnson again on Sunday?
Now the conspiracy is running really deep. I think that's a Katie Wyndham question. But
we should ask her this week. Yes, we should definitely ask her this week. But bet you handle your business. You look like the number 1 overall seed. You didn't give up a single run. Obviously, I'm with Dax. There was no good brands in Tuscaloosa. I mean, there was no good brands this weekend at the regional, and so kind of hard to really feel like Alabama was threatened despite the number. I mean, you saw all the numbers for Maya Johnson, and obviously very impressive. But it was really hard for me to take them seriously. Just the brand of Belmont and USC Upstate and Southeast Louisiana. I mean, none of those teams inspired any fear. And Alabama, I guess, treated it the same way. Held all 3 games scoreless. Run rule 2 wins and advanced to the Super Regionals.
Yeah, now let's see. That'll be a heavyweight battle. That'll be a fun one. It'll be this next weekend with SEC baseball tournament and Alabama softball hosting a super regional. That is about as big as it gets for the spring. So that'll be a fun one, but I think Hunter probably talked about baseball, so if we want to go to him.
Yep, that's perfect. So we'll get Katie on to expound on the softball a little bit more, answer some of our questions, and set up the LSU series that is to come. Look, if you are looking for something to do this weekend, Friday night, right there at Road Stadium, you're going to be able to see that Alabama LSU game 1. Friday night, it is a perfect first pitch time, 7 o'clock. And if you're an Alabama baseball fan, it's all good. You watch Alabama baseball on Thursday, win or lose, they're off on Friday. So you don't have any reason to be back up at Hoover. You can watch the girls take on LSU right there at the Rhodes House, and then get back to Hoover for Saturday if the boys win, and then back on Sunday if they stay victorious. So like the schedule sets up perfect for everybody to be at the Rhodes House on Friday night to watch Alabama and LSU. Let's keep going here on the voicemail line with Hunter Brantley, 205-462-7340, extension 800. If you got comments, questions, queries, or complaints, here's Hunter Brantley on the voicemail.
Hit it high and watch it fly. Off the batter's eye, a solo shot for Eric Hines. Big E makes it 6-2 in the 5th. Man, that felt great to say. That was awesome. That was probably the highlight of the day. no doubt. Other than that, it had to be Jason Torres. Finally coming up with a clutch hit. Finally, clutch hit. It only took 50 games, but hey, we'll take it. It got us the win, got us the lead. And like I said, finally, big hit from Jason Torres. We need more of that going forward. Hopefully this isn't just a blip on the radar. Hopefully there's more to come. And I'm hoping it is. I really am. I think he's talented. Obviously, Rob Vaughn believes in him. I think he's just been in a slump all year. You know, if he can just center up that freaking fastball when they throw it over the heart of the plate, you'll get one. I promise you, you get one. And he can't miss it. He's going to get one every time, and he can't miss it. So hopefully he continues to center up the fastball. Hopefully he continues to barrel up baseballs. And if he does that, I'll take it all day long. Even if it is an atom ball right to somebody, it's better than a strikeout. So I'm glad that he showed up. Same thing, Luke Vaughn called him out. He hit great. Maybe I should start calling people out that aren't hitting that good. You know what, Brendan Holt, you haven't gotten on base in a while. You used to get on base way more consistently, and you should start doing that. No, I'm just playing. He's a solid player, but I would like to see him hit better. Man, Hoover, 3 games. How far are we going? Got to get y'all's thoughts. How far are we going? Championship, semis, one and done? What is it? Got to know. One more thing. I saw this surfacing on Twitter the other day. I think Front Office College Sports posted this. But Alabama's NIL total value is like $38 million. I don't know what to make of that. I know that's not true. But, I mean, some of the numbers I saw was crazy. I think we're paying Jamarian Latham like $600,000 plus. $600,000 for like 4 tackles in a 12-game season. Like, get out of here. Like, there's no way that's true. I don't know why people believe in that stuff. I just want to get y'all's thoughts on those 2 things. Talk to y'all later.
Hey, Hunter Brantley joining us on the voicemail line, and you can too at 205-462-7340, extension 800. Let's do baseball first and then get into football, Theo, because he sets up both the big topics that I really want to talk about today. Alabama taking care of business, winning the series against Ole Miss 2-1. And really bouncing back in a big way after what did I write down? 15 strikeouts on Friday night. Really, really pathetic offensive performance on Friday night, and then came back on Saturday and got things done. 3 really strong pitching performances on the weekend. Tyler Fay, Zane Adams, and Miles Upchurch, all 3 going deep into the game and giving you really, really good starts. Obviously, you lost the Zane Adams game, but Zane, I thought, kept you in the game for a long part of it while your offense was doing absolutely nothing. So really strong weekend. First error-free weekend since sweeping the Auburn Tigers. How many weeks ago was that? 7, 8, 9 weeks ago was that. So first error-free weekend in a long time. Theo, Rob Vaughn said, oh, well, we started practicing differently. We decided that what we have been doing for the last 4 months, the guys just weren't getting the game. It wasn't taking. And so we practiced a little bit different. We changed up the drills. We changed up some of the things that we were doing fielding wise. And he said, I think that's paying off. I think it started to pay. Yeah, coach, I think it is. 0 errors. Pretty nice turnaround in that department as you are leading the conference in errors on the season. So any weekend that you can have no errors is a positive. Justin LeBron up and down, back in the lineup, had a really good night Thursday. Awful Friday, but then back at it Saturday, and came up with a clutch RBI right there in the first inning, and was pretty on point on Saturday. So I thought it was a good weekend. You locked up a top 4 seed. That's the most important thing. And selfishly for me, it means we don't have to go up to Birmingham until Thursday evening. So appreciate that for you guys. Thank you so much. I think that's going to work out best for the Alabama fan base to get up to Hoover to support the team. You're playing Thursday, likely against Florida. Who was the other team? You're playing Florida or the winner of Kentucky Vandy. Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct.
So you got swept by Kentucky the very first weekend of the year. You beat Vanderbilt 3 weeks ago, and then you swept Florida as well. So gonna be a little bit of a mixed bag right there on that Thursday night. But Theo, your thoughts on winning the series, winning 3 series in a row before we get to the Hoover outlook?
Roller coaster. I mean, that's been the word all season, right? There have been some really low lows and some really high highs. Alabama, after winning the first game in the series, became the first SEC team since 2013 to rattle off 2 winning streaks of 7 games or more in SEC play in a season. Like, you just think about that, right? Like, twice this team, with its back against the wall, was able to just string together incredible stretches of baseball. 2 sweeps. Twice. I mean, like, sweeping 4 SEC opponents, we talked about this last week, that is elite territory. Now, usually the team that's sweeping all those opponents isn't also getting swept a bunch like the Crimson Tide was, but the highs have been there. You've done everything you need to do to show that you have about as much potential as anybody in the country. 18 SEC wins, most for the program since 2009. Just take a bow if you're Rob Vaughn, if you are this program. I believe that Rob Vaughn locked up SEC Coach of the Year with his performance this weekend. I mean, a team predicted to finish 13th in the conference, a team that faced so much adversity, a team that had so many injuries, right? I mean, Coleman Mizell was a starter last year. We didn't see him. Sam Christensen, Logan Davenport transferred in. We thought we were going to get so much out of them. Didn't see him. Didn't matter. You got, I think, everything you could have possibly gotten out of this team in the regular season. I think the team should rightfully feel great about its performance in the Ole Miss series, really. With not things hanging in the balance because you overachieve no matter what, but with the idea of, well, think about how much better a double bye makes things. And then you're in a game that you very easily could have folded and lost on Saturday. Finale, coming off an atrocious performance the day before, and it doesn't matter. You rally, you win. It's another series victory. And, I mean, most importantly, this double bye, not having to play till Thursday. Just an incredible weekend for the team.
All right, you answered my next big question, which was, who is SEC Coach of the Year? Did Rob Vaughn do enough?
It is Rob Vaughn.
Coach of the Year. You got Georgia. What is it? Georgia Will Johnson is probably your other big favorite, and Texas A&M. Texas A&M's coach is obviously up there as well. So yeah, it's the big question right there. The second thing, the other little kind of caveat or the next offshoot for me is, did this weekend encapsulate the season almost perfectly? Going from Thursday, you have a strong win, a gritty win, a gutsy win, kind of back and forth where you gutted it out at the end, right? And maybe you, in the Thursday game, you had a couple wasted opportunities early that you thought, man, I hope that doesn't come bite you. You dug deep and you won late. Friday, just abysmal at the plate, just disgusting. Honestly, one of the I feel bad for everybody who went to that game, how 15 strikeouts and really inept at the plate. And then Saturday, bouncing back, jumping on them early and just staying on them all the way through the end to claim series victory.
Yeah, first of all, Wes Johnson. I was trying to think of it in my head. Wes Johnson, Georgia head coach. Should be in the mix, but I think it should be Vaughn, like I said. Yeah, you're right, Joe. I mean, metaphorically speaking, that covers it very well, right? And think about how many times this season where we talked about, okay, are things slipping away? And it started with, I mean, you remember how I was talking heading into that Florida series. Like, it was the season obviously won't be over with a loss, but we're getting to a point where there's going to be a lot of pressure, and you're staring down the barrel at 2 ranked top 15 opponents in Florida and Auburn, and things had the potential to go really, really haywire with losses in those series. And the team had the response. And you rattle off those 3 straight series wins. And then you go out and you just get swept in ugly performance by Arkansas. And you run into a buzzsaw in Texas, and then just an incredibly, absurdly disappointing performance against Tennessee, where it's, okay, all the errors are back. The bullpen is struggling, everything is really starting to fall apart. Regional hosting looks like, okay, maybe this won't quite happen this year. You're going to be in the tournament, but you'll be going and playing somewhere else.
Playing in Hattiesburg again.
And look, Vanderbilt and South Carolina are having down years. They're not quite anything special this season. Didn't matter. You took care of business. You cleaned up the mistakes. You responded. And if there was any doubt over, okay, was this response just because of the quality of those opponents? It certainly was not, because you saw what the team did. Like you said, Joe, error-free baseball against an Ole Miss team that I think is a very good baseball team. I think Mike Bianco is a great coach. I think there's so much talent with Pacetta and just the entire roster in Oxford. Alabama was the better team on that diamond. So I think, honestly, the reflection on this is a special season. Special, and I think memorable is the right word, right? Because you had the milestones, you had the big wins, you had, obviously, like the no-hitter is going to go down in history. That is an all-time Alabama baseball moment. And I think it's funny, like, how much some of the bad moments are going to kind of fade out of memory, but I think they're such an integral part of the story of this team and of this season. With that being said, you got to finish, right? I mean, roller coaster suggests that it goes back down, right? It suggests that, okay, we're up, we're going to crash now at some point in the postseason. This team absolutely has everything it needs to just continue and end this thing on a very high note. So we'll see where things lead. Oh, you want to talk SEC tournament, or where do you want to go with this trip?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the next spot right there. Is Thursday night. You're playing basically at 7 p.m. It's a TBD because it's the second game of the afternoon session. The first game is, I think, at 4:30. So roughly, if you're planning your Thursday, it's about 7 o'clock on Thursday over at the Hoover Met, and you'll be taking on either Florida or Vanderbilt, Kentucky. I'm 75% sure it's going to be Florida, but you never really know. Theo, what's really the expectation here? Because you've gone into the SEC tournament multiple years in a row, at least from my perspective, thinking, well, you're playing on Tuesday. You try to get 2 wins and make a last impression on the committee. You're playing on Wednesday. Try to get 1 win, maybe 2, try to make an impression on the committee. Don't go one and done. Like, this is a totally different outlook. This is a totally different experience because you're a top 4 seed and you're feeling like hosting at least the regional round is locked up. You can't assume anything in this day and in this time, but you're feeling pretty good that the regional is set in stone. Maybe you can push and make sure that you're a top 8 seed for super regionals but will that take all 3 wins? Will that mean a 3-win weekend? What is the expectation in a tournament where you can treat it like an exhibition? You can treat it like it doesn't matter and it doesn't count, and you can go one and done and you can still be fine. Get you 3 more days of rest before the next weekend's regional right there in Tuscaloosa. What is the right approach? Because Rob Vaughn, after the Saturday game, after winning the series, said, hey, well, we owe it to ourselves because we've got a top 4 seed, because we've got the double bye. We don't play on Tuesdays. It's so hard to win the event starting on Tuesday or Wednesday because of so many pitching and so many arms, so many days in a row. But you're starting on Thursday. Like, the bracket sets up perfect for Alabama from a logistical standpoint. Maybe not from a competition standpoint, but logistically, you're playing Thursday night. So you got same amount of rest as you would this week. And then you get Friday off. So if you win, you get Friday off. And then Saturday noon, Sunday at 1. Basically a typical weekend series. You can go Tyler Fay, Zane Adams, Miles Upchurch, bam, 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 if you really wanted to. What should be the right approach? What is the expectation up in Hoover?
Well, Alabama has a lot on the line here. Obviously, you have the teams like Vanderbilt, for example, that you basically need an automatic bid to make it. You're going to have a couple teams on the bubble. But in Hoover, it mostly is – there really aren't many teams that fall into the gray area, right? It's either you've already secured a spot and the only teams fighting for things are ones that you need win to secure a regional, or in Alabama's case, secure a super regional. Alabama is right on the bubble side. And I've been looking in at the bracketology stuff, and I've kind of done some seeding on my own, with being a little bit tapped into the national landscape. And my take on it is you've got, I think, 6 national seeds just about locked up right now. And I would give those spots to Georgia, Georgia Tech, Texas, UCLA, North Carolina, Texas A&M. I think Auburn is very likely the 7th. Auburn, despite getting swept by Alabama, head-to-head should matter. The Tigers are loved by all of these national writers, all of these national people because of, they played an absolute gauntlet of a schedule, a significantly tougher schedule than Alabama played. I think the Tigers will be one of the top 8. So you basically have this final spot that I believe Alabama is very much in the mix for. I think it's Alabama. I think it's Florida. I think it's Florida State. I think Southern Miss has a very outside shot, but it'll likely come down to one of those 3. So knowing that, first of all, Florida is one of those teams in the mix. If Florida were to lose before getting to the matchup with Alabama, you can basically, close the book on them. But if it comes down to a Florida-Alabama matchup in Hoover, that would, in many ways, basically be a play-in to see who gets to host a super regional, right? Who gets a national seed, which would be very good. Florida State, obviously playing out in the ACC, that's one that you can't control. They go on a run, they rattle off some wins, they can set things up. But at the end of the day, if Alabama wins, 2 games in Hoover, you're probably going to get a national seed. No matter what, they'll find a way to get you in there. I think you have to win a game in Hoover. You are on the verge of getting to host not just a regional, but a super regional. That's pretty special. And that is something where, you go all in and you really try to make a run at things in Hoover. I think strategy is going to be really fascinating at this event for Alabama. Because first of all, you have Georgia most likely sitting. You have Georgia or Mississippi State waiting for you in the semifinals if you were to win the first round, right? Let's just ignore the first round opponent for a second. Georgia and Mississippi State are just unreal baseball teams. And I thought I had Mississippi State as my number 1 team in the nation for much of the preseason. And even first couple weeks of the regular season, I think Mississippi State still is a team that can very well make a run to Omaha. You also have Mississippi State Ole Miss will be the second round matchup, assuming Missouri doesn't pull a first round upset, the 9-16. And it's hard to forecast future matchups, right? Like Georgia has been the force all year in the SEC there, who I would pencil in to be waiting there in the semifinal, but you don't know. And you can't make your lineup decisions based off a potential future matchup in one of the most chaotic events in sports.
Right.
However, with that being said, I do think that I think Zane Adams is a very solid pitcher, but I think Tyler Fay is the guy who would have to win you that Georgia game, right? You need Tyler Fay out there to deal with, a team that just hits the cover off the ball time and time again, slugging at an incredible weight, one of the most, prolific SEC regular season teams I've seen. If you are facing Florida in the quarterfinal, though, there's one guy you throw out there. You put Tyler Fay out there no matter what. I'm sorry, but when a guy no-hits a team, you don't even think about making a roster change. You don't think about throwing anybody else out there.
Right.
Except Tyler Fay. So I do believe that's what Rob Vaughn's strategy will ultimately be. If it's Kentucky or Vanderbilt, especially, Kentucky really got to Fay. It was Fay's worst outing of the year. It's funny, it's 2 worst outings of the year were Washington State in the opener and then Kentucky, where a game that they just got to him early. I think he got removed in the I want to say he got removed in the 4th after giving up 7 earned runs, a season high, and probably his shortest outing of the year. You saw Zane Adams handle Vanderbilt pretty well. He did solid against Kentucky too. So I think it'll be Adams on Thursday if it's Kentucky or Vanderbilt. And I think Tyler Fay if it is Florida, because that Florida game would have massive, massive implications.
We will follow it all the rest of the week. I believe there's going to be a midweek press conference this week, is what Nick was kind of giving me the heads up on. So we will see what Rob Vaughn has to say. I'll ask him about that pitching strategy. I'll ask him what the approach is. It sounded like, based on the Saturday post-game press conference, that the Crimson Tide was going for it. They said, he said, we owe it to ourselves after we earned a double Y and to try to win 3 games and be SEC champions. So that would be a huge deal for Alabama if they can pull it off this weekend. Be sure to follow our coverage at Bama Central at Theo Fernandez _, and at Joe Gaither 6 for all the baseball coverage this weekend as Alabama goes to Hoover. Theo, why don't I hit the Purple Turtle Roofing ad, and then we'll take on Hunter's second half of his voicemail where he's talking about roster valuations. How much is this Alabama roster worth? Before we do and get into football, we'll tell you at Purple Turtle Roofing, we're not just another contractor. We're your neighbor and your advocate when it comes to protecting your home or business. With years of hands-on experience, top-tier certification, and a commitment to excellence, we've built a reputation as Alabama's go-to roofing solution. We specialize in residential roofing, commercial roofing, emergency storm repairs, full-on roof replacements, insurance claim support, and more. You can visit us online at roofturtle.com or call us at 877-PT-ROOF-5. That's 877-787-6635 for your free roof inspection today. You can check out all the products and services online. You can make sure that they'll come out and make sure that you have the peace of mind that you deserve in your home. Check them out at roofturtle.com. Purple Turtle Roofing. Roofing with heart, built to last. Ooh, there we go. All right, we're hanging out in the Derek Daniel State Farm Studios with our friend Theo Fernandez, and we want to move to the second half of Hunter Brantley's voicemail. Hunter Brantley called and talked about this college front office sports chart that has Alabama football's roster valuation at $38.04 million. Theo, were you an Austin Powers guy? $1 million. That's before your time.
Before my time, yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable. But we were teasing this, and I had been sending Theo a lot of these charts before this it came up. It was Oregon's chart. I think I sent him Ohio State's chart. And then finally they put out Alabama's chart, and that was on a Friday, and we said, okay, we're going to get into this. But you've got to have some questions here. First off, the overall number of $38.04 million, basically 38 even, is your number for Alabama's roster. It's a 71 player getting paid $38 million. It has the starters. The chart is basically the starters. The starters at $17.8 million. 17.75 is what that actually looks like to me. So the rest of the roster is essentially your $11 million, right? 17 and 11, it's $21 million. I took the remedial math. So your backups are $21 million. And I don't know. Just initially, I see this number and I think, oh, there's no way this roster's at $38 million. Theo, is this wrong? Could be. I guess it could be in today's college football landscape. This chart doesn't make too many spots where I think, oh, that's total hooey. Some spots, like Connor already pointed out, I would be surprised if Jamarian Latham is making, what do they have him at, $686,000. So basically $700,000. And maybe they are. Maybe the Crimson Tide is paying him that. Maybe it's the extra that Jamarian Latham has earned for being here so long, and maybe it's a premium that they're paying him for being the last Saban player with a ring on the roster. Like, that's got to be worth something, right? I can teach you the leadership. I can, guidance for everybody. It's got to be worth something. So maybe they are paying him $700,000. But I would be pretty surprised at that. Theo, what do you think? $38 million for this roster. What do you think? $17 million for the 22 starters on the team. Do you think this chart has any semblance of reality? Where are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think we're definitely over $30 million for a frame of reference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Some of those numbers I look at and I'm like, really? Is that what the numbers are? But it's hard to refute, right? Like we don't
Exactly
have a lot of concrete stuff that we like. Yeah, obviously this could be completely made up, right? But I mean, you guys do the math in your head. You think this is a $20 million roster? No. I mean, we know that the numbers have gotten up there. Maybe just a little higher than I'd thought in my head, but 40 million wouldn't strike me as all that stunning at this point in time, right? So I think minimum 30, like I said. Some of the numbers for players kind of strike me, but then some of them you look at and it's like, okay, for example, they had Austin Mack at like what, 2.2 million?
Yeah, 2-2.
Is that all that surprising at face value? You think, oh, 2.2 million for a guy that may not even be the starting quarterback? No. At the end of the day, that seems very in line with what guys make at this point in time. Now, I wonder,
especially guys who don't go in the transfer portal and stay to compete.
Right. Stay, loyalty, following the board, that is the guy that you reward with money. Now, I do wonder, I don't know how incentive-based the contracts given out are.
I don't think there's any.
You don't think there's any?
I think that what you've seen over the last few years is rework your deal year to year, either as a here's what you did last year, reward for production, up your money, or you didn't live up to the dollar amount. Will we rework it down and a pay cut? I don't think there's any incentive. I don't, now maybe there is, but I don't really think that there's any, hey, catch 10 touchdowns, get an extra million, because they are still trying to masquerade it as NIL. They're trying to masquerade it as name, image, and likeness, NIL. Here's your value. And so once you get into incentive base, if you start 15 games and you get X roster out, like the NFL, then that's totally like, you can't even ask that. That's incentives. That's play for play. And so I think they were really trying to keep the mask on that it's total NIL and not pay for play. And so I don't think that there's any incentives.
I think my absolute biggest surprise on this list is the secondary. And I mean, Xavier Brown.
Read them. So the people who aren't seeing the chart, read them.
Under 800,000, 795. Bray Hubbard 948. Keon Sabb 875,000. Dijon Lee just over 700,000, and then Red Morgan at 650,000. Like, first of all, I mean, you would think that your three projected day 1 and 2 picks the next 2 years in Xavier and Bray Hubbard and Dijon Lee, probably guys that would command a premium, right? Like somebody is probably going to throw Brown a pretty big offer nationally. You'd think that would be a 7-figure player.
Yes.
So I actually thought, and I don't know how much positional value plays into things, right? It's not like not like teams don't pay cornerbacks though, right? And I think a lot of our comparison has to be off of the NFL, right? Because there is our basis for, okay, this is how teams value players. So, and to that extent, it makes a lot of sense seeing Austin Mack as the highest paid player, right? The star receiver, Ryan Coleman Williams, at $1.65 million. That makes sense. Second highest paid player on the team. You have both tackles, Jackson Lloyd, just over $1 million. Michael Carroll at $1.2 million. Those make sense. Your edge rusher, Yanze Pierre, makes $1 million. We know from experience in the NFL that your 3 highest paid positions are quarterback, edge rusher, wide receiver. That is how the contracts work in football. So that part doesn't really surprise me at all. But I don't know. You would think there's still a very big bonus for being, here's one of the best cornerbacks in college football. Here's a guy who is likely going to be a day 1 pick. And I think it's hard to evaluate a list like this, and it's hard to analyze it because the problem I'm running into is, okay, think about Xavier Brown for a second, right? Like, let's isolate on him. On one hand, great player, who would significantly improve and be a marquee addition for any team in the country. Going to be this really high pick, et cetera, should command a very big salary. But at the same time, is that the guy who takes the discount because, look, I'm about to be a day one pick. I love it in Tuscaloosa. I think I've gotten great development. I think they've set me up for success. I love everything about here. I think Alabama absolutely allows me to be drafted as one of the top 2 cornerbacks off the board. So that one scenario that I just ran through with Xavier Brown, you can apply versions of it to any player on any team in the country, right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes it still so fascinating is, yes, this is big money, big just contracts given out year after year. But at the same time, it's not an open market. It's not a free-for-all. Guys have a lot more going into their decisions. It's not just NFL free agency. So that's, I think, why it's, for better or worse, really hard to analyze these numbers.
I largely believe the numbers at 30. You said 30, over 30 million. I largely believe that. I think it's between 30 and 40 million. I think 38 is a nice framework. It's a nice framework because you got to think, where are you starting from? You're starting from the $20.5 million rev share, right? That's the basic. That's where you're starting. Well, football is getting, 90-something% of that, 80, 85, really high percentage of that. Basketball is getting like 2 million. You're giving like 17 million of that to football. So your roster's already starting at basically $17 million when you implemented this rev share. Well, now use your brain a little bit and think, well, it didn't just start with rev share. It started with NIL, and it started with, these collectives. There was a couple collectives before Alabama that I can't even remember their names of, but it started with collectives, and it was, well, we've got to raise money to pay our players. Well, now you've got outside money, and you've got the basically $18 million in rev share. Well, stack that on, and you say, okay, well, we're starting with 18. We probably were going with about 15, 16 million. In the early days of NIL, you're probably running a $9 to $15 million roster. Well, add those two numbers together, and you end up somewhere around $35, $38 million. I think it makes perfect sense. Now, yeah. I agree with a lot of things that you're saying right here, because if I'm Courtney Morgan, I'm giving Xavier Brown an absolute blank check. Now, this chart is a little misleading. I like the fact that they've got Jamarian Latham, London Simmons, Kedrick Bingley-Jones up here on the defensive front, just because, those are the guys you went out and you brought Jamarian Latham back, loyalty, second year London Simmons. Well, London only started last year because of injuries up front to Jeremiah Beeman and to Tim Keenan early in the season. Well, and London played well, for sure. But is London going to be a starter this year? I think he's going to be in the rotation. Absolutely, he's going to be in the rotation. But is he the full-time starter? His name's not Devin Tompkins or Terrence Green. And so you look here at $780,000 for London, a guy like London Simmons, or $500,000, $550 for Kedrick Bingley-Jones, transfer from Mississippi State. And I'm wondering to myself, what the heck are they paying Devin Tompkins and Terrence Green? Because those two guys, I think, are your first two up in those spots. And if you're paying the backup $780 and $550, then you're definitely paying the starters, somewhere around $1 and $850, up both of those numbers a little bit. And you think about QB Reese. QB is a great number right here, because it goes right back to what you were saying, Theo. If all these players have different situations, all these players have unique circumstances. This chart has QB Reese making $247,000, basically $250. And you think, wow, starting inside linebacker? Well, use what we know about the NFL, and it's like, well, the inside backers aren't getting paid like the safeties, and aren't getting like the corners and like the edge rushers and like the tackles, but they're being paid fine. And then you think about QB as a 3-star recruit out of Ramsey. And then you think about, well, loyalty factor. Alabama gave him an opportunity. Alabama stuck with him. He stuck with Alabama. They've all been developing. If you're going to give a 3-star recruit $250,000 that might end up being your starter, I think that's great value from the Alabama side. And it's really great value from the said 3-star recruit side. The 3-star recruit that lives an hour away. So like all these, every little factor of the players' lives matters. Or QB being an hour away. I mean, you think about cost of living in Alabama. Obviously, we all know the economy is going nuts right now. Cost of living everywhere is going up. Okay, whatever. But it's a little different. I mean, if your son's only an hour away, like, goodness gracious, I think every little factor, where players are recruited, what his opportunity is going to be this season, what his family situation is, every little bit plays into this, and it's a big negotiation game between Courtney Morgan to find what's the right value for Alabama and what's the right value for the player to get everybody on the same page and to move the organization forward beyond money. I look at a guy like, you've got Rayson Delgatti here at 432,000, and I think if you got a starting center at basically 440,000 or so, that's a bargain. That's a bargain. But then you look at his situation, you're giving a guy from a lower division. I mean, I guarantee you he wasn't getting paid 440 at what is it, UC Irvine or UC Upstate, whatever, UC Davis, whatever. Thank you very much. He wasn't getting paid 440 there. So you get a huge opportunity here. And okay, if you turn this opportunity into an NFL opportunity, that 440 goes. I mean, look what Parker Brailsford got drafted. He's making a lot more than 440. I think the chart is fairly accurate, but I think that each play you got to take it in a case by case basis.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think you summed it up pretty well. And I think one thing that I kind of wonder is, how will the reporting of NIL numbers kind of develop, right? Because I think just a couple of years ago, I don't think we would have been able to put together a chart like this, right? I think it was pure Wild West. How do we even anticipate? You heard rumors of really high numbers to certain players, but not expansive stuff like this. And now, for one, like, are London Simmons and Bingley Jones on this list because they weren't able to find any accurate reporting for the other guys, for a DT, for a Terrence Green? I don't know. Like, it makes sense. Like, okay, for example, well, we couldn't find anything at all on Caleb Woodson, and we thought we had more accurate numbers on these guys. Like, I wonder if that's the reason things are reported like this, but it's hard to say. I do like this a lot as a framework that
a framework,
relatively
trustworthy. Pencil, not pen here. Yes. I think you can make great mistakes by okay, player XYZ drops a pass this year, he's making X dollars. Like, I think you can drive yourself crazy going that route. It's a framework. Theo, spin your eyes to the very bottom of the chart.
Perfect.
And I think that you've got a really, really good picture, a beautiful picture, really, of what Kalen DeBoer's program is about, and people that have been upset over these couple of years. I think that you see it at the very bottom of this chart in the three numbers: the retained players that were on the team last year that are on the team this year are making, according to this chart, $24.5 million. Okay. You stay with the program, you work, you develop, you're making good money. And then your portal players, you went out and got Devin Tompkins, Terrence Green, Caleb Woodson, all those guys. We've talked about them, all of them. The portal guys, they've listed at $7.3 million. And then their recruits, everybody wants to get 5-star this, 5-star that, every 5-star in the world. If you didn't get the 5-star, then you got a bum. You're only paying the recruiting class that was top 10 in the country. Top 10 in the country. Got $6.1 million. And how many? You ended up with like 3 or 4 5-stars in the class, and really 5 or 6 when you think about the conglomerates, because some people had Jet Tamala as a 5 and some people didn't. Some people had Jordan Edmonds as a 5. Same thing with Cedric Morgan. But like, you look at this and you see it. You go out and recruit at a nice number, $6.1 million. You keep the guys on the team. Okay, we're paying the guys who stay, who show loyalty. We're paying the guys who develop and stick with the program. $24.56 million. And we always are going to lose some players. We got to fill some gaps, fill some holes. We got to up the roster in a couple areas. $7.3 million in the portal. I think this is a great picture of how Kalen has constructed his program for the last 2 years and will continue to structure the program.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And obviously you would expect, Portal probably would have been a little higher if a running back had decided to stay in Tuscaloosa. So that number's a little lower because of that. But I like the idea of those two numbers long term being kind of relatively even, right? And it'll fluctuate, right? Like this coming class, you would expect maybe I'm going to go on a limb and say maybe with
to be a little lower.
a lot, or I was going to say with Elijah Haven, right, with a big ticket, top of the line quarterback, that might be one where he elevates the number a little bit higher, right? But then you also probably have less filler players, like you said. So there will always be fluctuation year to year. But I think that gives you the right mix of development of homegrown talent. There, you know that will always be a part, especially in Tuscaloosa, without we're making sure that we're bringing in marquee players every year and that we're filling out the class. And we know that inevitably we are going to lose guys that we develop to the portal. That is a reality of, resources, time down the drain because a guy transfers out after a couple of years. So I think this is definitely something that I'm going to save this list and I'm going to have it to refer to in, 2, 3, 5 years down the line to see how things develop.
Will this roster, and the last question for me today is, will this number, what's the right word for it? Will it move expectations for Kalen DeBoer? And really how I want to say it is, will it poison the minds of the Alabama fans to think that they better be 15-0?
True. The minds are already poisoned. Come on. You think a number is going to change that?
Well, you're making $38 million. You better be winning.
Yeah, there are a lot of reasons why this team better be winning, and I think the fan base demands success, right? We know that. When we talked about it a few weeks ago where I said really the only way this season's a success is if you win a ring of some kind, whether that's a big-time bowl game that gets you to the semifinal or whether that's an SEC title. You need to do something, right? And there are going to be expectations, which is something that we'll talk about, obviously, as the summer continues to progress. But, a note on that, I know you were sending me valuations throughout the week, right? Alabama was one of the later ones released. And Ohio State was at $43 million. LSU was at $42 million. There are plenty of teams above Alabama, which we do know. We know that there are teams with more money. That is a reality of this. You're spending, whether it's $30 million, whether it's $38 million, you're spending a lot of money on a football team. If anything, it should bolster expectations. I agree.
Well, we will keep talking about it the rest of the week. We appreciate Dax and Hunter Brantley for calling us on the voicemail line. If you've got HVAC needs, make sure you hit up Dax. We'll get you guys in touch with one another. We appreciate him hanging out with us today, giving us some content and asking us some questions. We appreciate you guys for listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify. You can find wherever you get your podcast. You can find the Joe Gaither Show. Leave us a like, a comment, a question. Leave us a review right there. We'd appreciate it so much. We had a lot of fun on the Bama Central YouTube channel. We will hit up Katie Wyndham today to see if she's got a day available. I would predict Thursday might be her day to jump on and join the show to talk about the NCAA Regional this coming up week. If you got a comment, question, query, or complaint, you know where to find us. We're going to have a lot of fun the rest of the day, and we will talk to you on Tuesday, tomorrow, right here on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.